So I want to talk today about stimulation and what that does to us energetically. Because I'm sure you all have heard before that we live in a vastly overstimulated world at this point in time. Given how just like readily available technology is and how much time we may spend on our phones or on our computers, whether we're producing or consuming, these all have an effect on us in one way or another. And a lot of people just look at the physiology of it. What happens when we stare at a screen too long? How does that trigger chemicals in our brain and whatnot? But I want to talk about the energetic component of it and how our body functions on two principles, which is electricity and magnetism. You have the masculine and the feminine, if you want to put it in that context. But through our body runs a torus field going up through the center and then outward. And when this is in a rising fashion, when it's going upward and inward and then falling out, that's when we're ascending, our frequency is actually rising. It's like a wheel. When it's going the other way around, meaning if there's one of these energy centers, one of these chakras that's being pulled out of its center, it means the energy is going outward and down. Now that's descension. So here's where distraction can actually knock us off our path and take us out of our own power. Because in order to manifest in our lives and in order to create, bring good things to us, we have to be magnetic, right? So think of what I said earlier, electricity and magnetism. You combine the two, you get an electromagnet. What's an electromagnet? Well, it's gonna pull something to it. Or if you reverse the polarity, it's gonna push things away from it, okay? A body functions the same way. We are complex electromagnets. When we're in our center, we're magnetically aligned. It's like if you were to think of a magnet and how it's got a positive and a negative polarity, if you want that magnet to attract to it, it's got to be in its proper settings. Like the negative needs to be where the negative is, the positive needs to be where the positive is. So when we have within us, our focus is centered within us, then what can happen is the energy can be pulled magnetically up the spine and then come out over the top. And when the energy is functioning in this particular way, it means that whatever we're aligned with internally, we're going to be attracting to us rapidly because we're creating a literal field of energy around ourselves and the magnetic center is within you. Likewise, here's the opposite. When we're distracted by something or when we're constantly being pulled out of our center, being distracted by the external world, identifying with the external world, it means that our magnetism has been pulled out of our center and it's external to us, which means the energy, instead of going upward and creating this nice spiral that empowers us, it's leaking. It's being pulled out. And the more of you that gets pulled out away from you, the more people can experience all sorts of illness, all sorts of parts of life that you're just having bad things happen or you're stuck in a rut or you're not who you're supposed to be. You're not aligning with what you're actually here to do, what you're capable of doing. Your magnetic center is where you need to be. So back to the distractions, back to what we tend to be doing and why society is so overstimulated right now. It's because people are looking for this stimulation. They're looking for their energy because they lost it. So they're looking outside of themselves to get this energetic fix because the energy is not flowing in them properly. Now, this is important to recognize because just like the mind, it is meant to be a servant. It is meant to be a tool for us to use, not to be our master. This is an important distinction because even like this phone that I'm holding in my hand right now, which is serving as an excellent tool because it's allowing me to connect with you at this point in time. If I were to be living in a way to where I need to have my stimulation from this device, I need to get something from it in order for me to feel all right, then I'm outside of my power. Then it's all of a sudden that this device holds my power instead of me holding my power, which means my magnetic center is no longer in my center. It's something I've externalized. So, my friends, think of in your life what you may have externalized your power to, because it could be anything. It could be substances. It could be food. It could be a person or a group of people. Whatever you're giving your power away to externally is going to become a center for you that's going to continue to pull you out of your own central alignment. Now, it's like I said, everything in its proper place. This is not saying you have to be a total monk and, become a breatharian and never use technology and whatever it might be. This is not what I'm saying. Everything in its proper place. It's to say you can have things in the external world. You can enjoy things in the external world. But if that becomes your center, if it becomes something where you need that stimulation, think of what that stimulation is. It's just you doing something to make your energy rise up. That's what it is. Your body's just craving that. It wants that fulfillment, quite literally. It wants that energy to rise. It wants you to feel full of your own energy. So sometimes we seek that from the external. What I'm saying is, it's okay to have that from the external. If there's things outside of you that it's like, oh, I enjoy having this, that's fine. But stay in your center. Stay where your magnetic center is, which is within you. Like I said, the torus field goes inward and up. It travels up through our spine and out in a fountain, in a sort of fountain shape, right? If this were to go the opposite direction, meaning if one of, especially our lower centers, this is what they call also like the 7 deadly sins, right? Because we have the 7 chakras, and then we have the 7 deadly sins in which each one of them corresponds to one of them. So the sin is essentially, you, instead of going up, instead of rising above the temptation of whatever that thing was, you went outward and down, inward and up, outward and down. So this is literally as simple as it gets with your energy. It can go one of 2 ways. So in the process of ascension, in the process of accessing higher levels of your own consciousness, higher levels of your own power, it's about overcoming those temptations and rising up with the energy. It's like I said, say you got caught in some trap of desiring, I don't know, let's say lust, for instance. And at the time, it was something that became like addictive to you. This could also, like I said, go with substances or food, people, or certain experiences where it became addictive to you to the point that every time your energy reached that certain point in your field, instead of transcending it and moving up beyond it, it went out in terms of like it needed it. So if you think of the big wheel that's supposed to be spinning and encompassing all these frequencies, imagine it got stopped like right here. And now it's just this little loop. What's going to happen to the centers above that? Like your mind center, your crown center. They're not going to be balanced. They're not going to be getting the flow of energy that they actually need to be processing things on a higher frequency. So you're going to be caught in a thought loop. And like I said, our society is designed this way at this point in time. It's to give us as much stimulation, as much distraction as humanly possible. This is what, like I said, these devices, they're a fantastic tool if we can use them right. But it's also incredibly stimulating for our mammal ancient brains that are pretty much programmed to like go find food in a field. This is a lot for how our brains are designed. And it can be very easily hacked in a way to where our brain gets programmed to say, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. And then instead of the energy flowing up and rising and fountaining out over us and showering us in this like eternal prana that's going to make us feel like really alive and really good, it's getting stuck in the head, and then it spins, and then it spins, and then it spins, and then people say, oh, well, I overthink all the time. I tend to overthink. It's like, yeah, but why? It's because your energy is getting caught in a place where if you were to just let go of those things, you know, you might still be thinking a lot, but if you were to not identify with it, if you were to not let it be that external thing that stimulates you, that you identify with, the energy will just continue to flow through and continue to cycle, and you will continue on your upward spiral, ascending. It is as simple as that. I promise you that. Upward and inward, outward and downward. Our magnetic center is inside of us. That's where we need to keep it. It's when there's something outside of us that has taken our magnetism away from us, that we feel a need to have that thing outside of us, that we need to do something to remind us of where the center is. This is why practices like fasting or meditation or going out into nature, getting away from all of it, are so important, because it brings us back down to that ground center level where we're not craving the stimulation. We don't need anything outside of us because we know it's already within us, And when we stay within ourselves, we're going to bring forth everything we could possibly need, because we are magnetizing that to us. Our force of attraction combined with our electric energy has become so potent and so powerful that it is all coming to us with great ease. We are magnetizing it to us, and manifestation, achieving the things that you want, becomes so effortless, because that is our natural power, my friends. And that's what I'm here to remind you of today. Don't let anything outside of you take away the power that you have within you. It's not worth it, first off. Second off, the life you could be living if you were to just find that internal magnetic center and channel the energy upwards. It'd be such a better life than always trying to find something outside of you to essentially get your fix. We don't want to live in that type of life. That's a type of life of suffering, because it means you're going to have a high and then you're going to have a low, and then you need it, and then you're going to have a high and you're going to be like, oh, it's great, and then you're going to have a low and then you need it. We don't need to fluctuate like that. We can keep the wheel balanced. We can keep it centered where we already have it. It is already within us, my friends. So with that, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you find your own magnetic center, because then you could be living life really however you want. All right? Everybody take care. Peace.